Welcome to part 2 of the 2-part paint series for the Dungeons & Dragons Archer. Hey guys, Not So Average Builder here once again. We're going with part 2 of this video. So in here I'm going to try my best to finish some more details on the kit itself, and then we're going to work on edge highlighting or highlights period. So I wanted the gold accents to be very minimal, so I only use it on the tip of the toes and then on the accents on the arm. Here, I'm just basically touching things up on pieces that I missed, and I can clearly see that there is the white base showing through. It's good to go back periodically and check on those things and make sure that you touch them up to greatly improve the overall appearance of your model. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the highlights for the raised areas, and I completely redo this in another video because I don't like the way this outcome. I was very off on my steps and I didn't have brush control and all of those things, so that ended up getting it to the point where I just wasn't crazy about it. I'll show you what I did and where I went wrong so that you can not do the same things that I do. And if you want to see how the more correct way to do it is, you can check out the video and I will put the link in below. As you can see, it took me a few tries to get even something that I remotely liked, and I kept going back over with the original base coat. So by it's all said and done, this cloak's going to have about 25 different layers of paint on it, but that's okay. Now I'm trying to, as best I can, I have terrible brushes, block in the tip highlights on the edge of the armor to try and give it more of an accent and make it pop a little bit better. I really need to get better brushes, which hopefully will be soon, but right now that's all I've got to work with. Here I'm trying my hand at wet blending. It didn't work. I waited a little too long for the highlight color to dry before I got in there with the previous color and tried to blend them together and bring them up in. I will end up doing a better video on how to do this properly on another kit. So here I'm doing a little bit better with the 2-brush method of wet blending. It is still not perfect, and I ultimately skip it and I do a different version of wet blending. I use the glaze wet blending on the next one. So just look out for that video and it'll be up there. Now we're working on painting the face. For this I just used a base flesh tone color. I'm not really sure exactly what color I used. I think I could just kind of used a basic flesh tone and mixed in a little bit of red into it to give it a deeper red. And I'm painting on it as a base, and then we'll go in, we'll highlight the raised areas, and we'll get the shadows blocked in and everything like that. So for the highlights, I basically just took the primary color that I used for the face, mixed in a little bit of white, and used that as my first highlight color. I kind of stopped there because the face on this is really tiny and it's incredibly difficult to pick out a lot of the shadows and the raised areas and stuff, but I will probably go back and do that when I finally get the piece finished. Now it's time for the hair. I just used a black base, and I'm pretty sure that I used a Abaddon Black by Games Workshop, and then I'm going to add in some purple highlights here in a few minutes to keep with that purple theme of the kit. Now we're roughly edge highlighting the inside of the cloak or the shirt or whatever it's called to kind of give it more definition and let it pop out a little bit. I'm not going too heavy on this because I'm not really worried about this. The main focal point is going to be the outer cape itself. Now comes the really tricky part, painting in the eyes. And one thing that I did learn is you always want to start with a black base or a darker base for the eye, and then kind of paint in your white and keep the outside edge still dark, so it gives the eye socket recesses. And I did mess up, and it's not a big deal. It's easy to fix with the base tone for the face, but just go easy on it. And one thing I did learn was to keep the point of the brush parallel with the eye itself, and it seems to give you better brush control. Now is the time that you pick out extra details like the rim around the hood. I'm trying to still keep with the purple theme, and I'm just using one of the highlight colors that I used for the cape or the cloak itself, and I'm using that as the top. And then I'll end up putting the black little studs that are on there that don't really show up until you paint it. But yeah, so I'll end up doing those later on, and it'll kind of bring the overall look together. And as you can see here, I'm not really happy with the way the cape looks, so I try and hit it with some more shade to try and tone the colors down or bring the recesses up to light more, or darker, whatever you want to call it. And I ultimately skip this later on, so don't look too much at this. This isn't that big of a deal. So basically here it is. For the most part, it's done. Like I said, I do fix the cape, but we're not worried about that right now. For the most part, the kit is done. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe.